Oh, sorry about that. I was trying to figure out how to. Yeah. Oh, hello. Hey, everybody. Sorry, I couldn't figure out what was going on with my internet. How's everybody?
Doing good.
Thanks.
How about you?
You know, I'm okay. I'm okay. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I'm not lying when I say I'm okay. Um,
I noticed the background has changed.
yeah, I'm locked into in my house for the next couple of weeks. I've been exposed to that disease that's taking over the world.
Oh, yeah, no, likewise. Hi, phone. How are you? Yeah, on 3 different counts, 2 have turned up negative, 1 has not. Unfortunately, the rest of the family has been exposed because QAnon. So that's why I wasn't here the last time, by the by, because I was getting the news then, and I was like, oh, that's lovely.
Because QAnon?
Some people within my familial sphere have fallen deep down the conspiracy rabbit hole to the point where they genuinely believe vaccines are poison.
I see.
And they really want to cross state lines to come say hi for Thanksgiving. And I'm
So
just
sorry.
like, please, over there.
Yeah, I've canceled all my trips back home just because, you know, the way the world is at the moment.
Yep.
Oh, that's what I was going to do. Okay. This is going to be a fun class, y'all, today. I'm excited about. Well, actually, hold on. I need to not overpromise. This is going to be a horrifying class today. Just like the worst thing that you've ever experienced. Just it'll be depressing, all and out terrible. There we go. Not overpromising. Okay. I'm just going to give a very quick spiel on posters because people are should start thinking about those now. And by the way, can I get a volunteer, someone? Anyone? Yes. Yeah. Cool. Thank you, Alyssa. Yeah. Thank you. Can you? Appreciate it. Okay. So I modeled this assignment off the poster sessions that occur in scientific conferences all around the world. If you've ever been to a poster session, they're terrible. They're just awful. It's got all of the fun of a divorce proceedings and all of the confidence of like a middle school prom. And I originally, when I designed this assignment, I think it was quite useful because it helped people put their things in a visual format, and I could go around. We'd have like snacks and drinks, and it'd be like a fun time. We'd all have a good time. But we're in a digital medium at that moment, and so these things that would be pretty good posters normally are a little bit less good nowadays. And so I thought I'd give my old spiel, maybe like add a little bit of a twist. I think we're all venturing into new ground, so I'll try to keep that in mind depending on how your posters turn out. I'm fully expecting some people to impress me and some people to make me reassess my evaluation standards. Happens every time. So the one lesson you should learn from this is that good design is crap. It's just crap. It's easy to remember. You can remember crap, right? This is the thing that you can actually take with you for the rest of your life. You would be able to use this later on. Good design is crap. What do I mean by crap? I mean contrast. So contrast is the C in crap. you should try similar elements look like mistakes. Very different elements look like choices. Does that make sense? So if I have two squares that are roughly the same size and shape, but slightly different colors, it looks like I just wasn't keeping track. That's going to apply similarly with colors. If you want a really strong, if you want colors that work, they have to contrast. More similar colors blend into together, they clash. And I can show you how this works by showing you examples of complementary and non-complementary colors, right? Like you can see that some of these are easier for you to read, right? Use your best judgment. This is one of those instances where the ADA issues actually come into play. Like I'm supposed to have high contrast in all of my slides. And this is one where I'm pointing out that not having high contrast can be a problem even for people that don't have color blindness or color issues. Okay, the R in crap is repetition. Someone coming in? Participants, okay. So for something to be, appreciate it, thank you. For something to be good design, you need to establish a pattern. And the only way you establish a pattern is by repeating something, keeping a style that maintains all of the objects of similar importance roughly in the same style, the same size, the same format. You don't want to sneak in really important information in like footnotes, for example. There's all sorts of things that you can repeat. You don't need to think about it as just repeating the same object or the same letter types. There's any number of things on a given poster or slide that could be repeated that could create this impression. Oh, this is where my slides start getting annoying. I love it. Okay. Sorry. I purposefully make the design of this presentation terrible so that people hate it, but so that you know what's good about it, what's supposed to be, what goes on in good presentations or good slides. The A in crap is alignment. So the rule of thumb is that every single thing on a slide should be aligned with at least one other item. And this goes in general for any time you try to do any design whatsoever. The reason I care a lot about this is because a lot of people suck at this. And I used to be a graphic designer, and it's one of those things that I feel like if people just had a little bit more design sense, people would read and pay more attention to everything that we do. Reason alignment is important is that when something isn't aligned, it feels like it's a mistake. It just feels bad. Proximity. Related items should be close to each other physically, and unrelated items should be far apart. So it's weird that that text is so far apart from the other items. And you don't want to bunch items together and take each other's space. You want them to be distinct enough in a way that you could like very quickly visually grasp what's going on. Okay, so to repeat, the principles are contrast, repetition, alignment, and proximity. There's a couple of other things that I need to add just for the sake of this class. In a poster, in a typical scientific poster, you want it to treat it like a scientific abstract of sorts. right? You want to treat it like like just a very quick summary of what your paper is going to be. And so you want to limit it to a couple of words, maybe a paragraph or so of words. With a presentation, you're going to want to limit it even more. Try to make the conceptual flow obvious. The eye typically goes to the largest bit of text, and then you go to the top left, and you make your way left to right, all the way until you get to the bottom right. It will hop around depending on if there's big visual items. That's just the way our eye works in this culture. If you were in a culture that read right to left, you would perceive everything differently. The conceptual flow would be different. The fonts are going to be different on a presentation. Basically, you want it to be legible, right? And it's the cool thing about this that's better than the poster version is every time I give this presentation on how to make a poster, I have to tell people, like, if it looks good on your screen, it doesn't mean it's going to look good when it's printed out. But if it looks good on your screen, it does mean it will look good on the screen. So that's cool. Think about your slide, your presentation. I want it to be a single slide, and I want it to think to you to be able to move conceptually through some points. Like, what are you discussing? What are you saying? How does your argument work? Why it's important? Why you should care? Right? You want to be able to address some of these questions. You can leave to your spiel, to your discussion. Other things you want to include in the actual slide itself. Images, I'm not sure I'm going to have to worry that much about images. I worry when you print out your poster because print is 4 times the resolution of your screen, which means that everything that looks good on your screen you should imagine it being 4 times bigger in order to actually see how it would look when you printed it out. But here, if it looks good, it's fine. Because this is for educational purposes, you can basically steal images from anything on the internet. So don't worry about the copyright stuff, which is good, I guess. Oh yeah, avoid busy backgrounds. Pain in the ass. And so what's going to happen next week and the week after is you're going to sign up for a particular time slot. We're going to do that in the next 15 minutes or so. And then it's going to be your time at that particular moment. I'm going to give you control of Zoom, and you're going to be able to share your screen. And I want you to give me like a very quick 1 to 2 minute spiel on what your poster says. Your poster should be on your final paper. It should give me briefly a run through of what you want to discuss on your final paper, right? Try to have it as worked out as possible. Basically just your thesis. You don't have to spend as much time defending it as you will in your final paper. Your final paper is going to be making an argument of some sort that touches on cognitive science in some way, right? So you're going to take a position like something like embodied cognition is essential for understanding cognitive science, and if you ignore it, you're misunderstanding a lot of cognition, would be a thesis. Or you could argue the opposite. People overrate embodied cognition. The actual features that are important in cognitive science are those that are not embodied, right? Like, those are things that you could argue. And so your poster, I just want you to guide me through roughly your argument. So in every previous version of this, I like to give an example of a poster that I've designed in an attempt to show you guys how I've put things together. So this is what I did the first time. This is an old poster of mine from back in the day. And I prepared it for a class, and then I actually presented it at a conference. And I thought, okay, this is cool. This is fine. This is a decent poster. All of the stuff that's supposed to go together goes together. Your eye is drawn to this big central image, and there's a couple of other images your eye can dart around. The next year, I got a little bit fancier, and I decided that I wanted to just draw everybody to one big idea and then leave other possible discussions to the side. Here I put in a QR code so you could go to actually, let me see how that works. This QR code takes you to a version of the poster which has a different QR code that takes you to the paper itself. There we go. There we go. So I thought about, so this was a version of a poster that I did another time. This year, because we're doing it digitally, I thought I'd take a stab at trying to design this exact same poster that I've just shown you two versions of. I thought I would try to show it as a slide, but I ran out of time. And so I made a really crappy slide, and I feel bad about even showing this. But this is roughly the information in the previous two slides compressed into a different slide. Okay.
So you're saying that's like a B?
Yeah, that'd be a B. If I spent another hour on it, I could probably turn it into an A.
All right. Thanks for the benchmark.
But the thing is, your poster is going to be assessed on three features. One is content. One is design, and that's going to be the less. It's that. So content is, I think it's 40%. Design is 30%, and then how you respond to my questions is 30%. And I'm going to ask you some basic questions like, how does your idea relate to this possible objection? Or have you considered talking about this aspect of class and how it connects to your idea? That kind of stuff. Fair? Any questions?
How far can we veer off from cognitive science? Like, how many points of contact should we have with it? Should it be really direct, or can it be kind of indirect?
So the reason I require 1 point of contact is because I want you to do something you care about, but it still should be related to this class. I think I'm much more tolerant of it being indirect than most professors would be. So, as long as there's a reading that's relevant to your poster,
Okay.
you can veer off. Like people have talked about. So in a philosophy of science class, people have gone into ethics. In this class, there's been some psychopathology discussions, which we don't get into but are relevant, right? There's been a couple of people that have taken a couple of left turns in this class. So yeah.
So as long as it's not the hardest left turn ever.
That's right. Like it shouldn't be an intro to ecology type presentation, right? Like it should connect. Okay. Any other comments or questions on posters before I move on? All right. So I thought I would do things a little bit differently this time. I made a redirect. Well, actually, hold on. We're going to discuss moral psychology today. Everything we've talked about in the past is relevant. And remember when I said that this was going to be a fun class / horrible? There will be some of you that think it's fun and others of you that think it's horrible. You don't have to participate if you don't want to. If you are one of the people that begins to think that this is horrible, it's okay. You can just log off or just not participate. Okay? Okay. Um, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to send you off in breakout rooms before we actually have a discussion. And in these breakout rooms, I want you to discuss some prompts that are in the lecture, but I just want you to like run through them in your group. Okay? Yeah. And then we'll come back together to talk about what you thought about these prompts. Okay? So I want you to go to this website. It should redirect to a Google Drive, a Google Sheet spreadsheet. Okay. On the first sheet is a sign-up sheet for the presentations over the next 2 weeks. First come, first serve. So if you want to slap your name down really quickly, you can. And the next sheet are the prompts. And I want you to go into your breakout rooms and discuss them. Oh, there's a chat. Access denied. Uh-oh.
Hi, Carlos. We
Hey,
need,
can you not get in?
no, we all need access.
Okay. Is it broadcast to everybody? Is there a message that I just sent to everybody?
Yep.
Okay,
So
there
I'll
we
read
go.
mine. Okay,
Okay,
thank you.
no problem.
We can't click the link you sent.
Can you not?
Yeah, I don't know
Oh,
why.
okay, you should be able to now.
Not seeing anything.
Yeah, I don't see anything.
Access.
Also, we can't edit the doc to put our name in anywhere.
You cannot. Damn it. Okay. How do I?
Oh,
how do I
I
change the
got
settings
in.
here? Okay. Anybody can view change. Anybody can edit. There we go. Done. All right.
Yeah, now I
Copy
see it.
link.
Now it's
Okay.
yeah.
Let me broadcast message. There we go. All right. So there's a bunch of people on the forum. Oh, people are signing up. Cool. Okay. Okay. Are you seeing the prompts?
Yeah, it's at the bottom. You click on the other tab.
Oh,
Yeah. So there's a bunch of prompts, and I want you all to
what group are we? Does it say?
it should say, it says for me. Does it not say for you all?
Oh, room
Room
one.
one.
It says room one. Yeah, I found it.
Okay. Okay.
Is this a rating of how it makes us feel?
How morally incorrect, or how problematic they are. How
Oh.
We each give a rating, or is it just like a collective group's decision?
So I want you to each give a rating and then discuss any big differences that you have.
How do you guys edit the sheets? Do you double click?
Oh, you should be able to type on it.
Yeah, I just single clicked.
I type on it.
For the swings one, I would say an 8 out of 10.
Cool.
Edit.
Just unnecessarily violent, and I think that'll be an issue.
Wait, are we rating this out of 10? An 8 out of 10.
Yeah, you can choose whatever ratings you want. So looks like group 4 is going with yes or no. But
yeah, I'll give it like an 8.2 or something like that.
I have no idea how old the child is. Is it like an 8-year-old girl? Is she
Wait, where is it?
It's at the bottom. It says prompt. If you're on the
Oh, I do see that.
Soft
Yeah,
sheet.
I see that now. And we're group 1.
I think for the uniform one is like a 1. I think that's normal.
I was about to say, I think we should just do no, yes or no. Because I feel like a 1 through 10 scale is kind of like iffy.
Okay.
I'm gonna hop out to problem solve with other groups.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
All right. How are you guys doing?
I don't see them. I'm just confused about prompts. What are we supposed to do for that part?
Okay. So I want you to go through each of these prompts and see how morally problematic you find them. So
Where
some of
are
them,
they?
sorry, go ahead.
Where are the prompts?
On the bottom of the sheet, it should say sign up sheet and then prompts with a 1 next to it.
Are you on your computer or your laptop? Or
I'm on my laptop, but I scroll down and it just creates more lines, like 400.
It's on another sheet. There's
It's-
2 tabs at the bottom.
2 tabs at the bottom. Ah. Oh. I see.
So for the rating, is it? I see all the other groups are doing like a yes or no.
Yeah, so one group, I was suggesting a 1 to 5 rating for them, but they decided that it was easier to just go with yes, problematic, no, problematic.
Okay.
So that's fine.
No.
I mostly want you all to think about them and then discuss as a group to see where your disagreements lie.
Okay.
Yeah. All right, I'm gonna go problem.
Do you guys want to do the 1
Okay.
to 5 rating, or you guys want to do yes or no?
Like, no, it's requiring a student to wear a uniform is kind of dumb. I'm very much with the boy is acting in a moral fashion.
Right. Who's our 4th? I've only
That's
heard-
me.
Hi.
Hey.
So yes, no on uniform.
I'm gonna
Ale-
go ahead just to say yes.
You're sideways, Alexa. I love it.
I'll just go ahead and claim N is me, so I'll be the N column.
So, Carlos, we're not entirely understanding what the intent is with the document, so we're just kind of yay or naying the prompts.
That's fine. Yeah.
Okay.
Do you find it
So-
morally problematic?
No, just
Oh, so the yes is yes, we have a moral problem, as opposed to yes, that is a moral thing to do.
Yeah. Or as long as when we get back into the group discussion, you can justify your.
Yeah, we can clarify our chicken scratch. All
Right.
right.
so we're
Hey,
flipped.
Carlos.
Hi.
So some of us still don't have access to edit.
Interesting.
I think
Yeah.
Chris
With this
is the only
link.
one who can edit. in our
Really?
group. Yep.
Anyone with this link can edit. Okay, let me paste it again. Interesting.
Boop, boop, ba, boop, boop. Can I edit? Well, let's edit the most important. Y'all beat me to it. All right.
I think I got the last November 30th date.
No, it's fine. It's fine. Life has just been a maelstrom of chaos. Back to the task at hand. I think the hands thing is a apt thing, and I'm going to say no. That is not a moral thing to be doing, all things considered.
Okay, there we go. So everybody's in now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
I'm gonna
I'm
pick
changing
O for
mine to
me.
wise then.
All right, I'm gonna hop over to room 4 to see if they need troubleshooting. There.
Not eat with their hands.
Definitely. Me
Because
too.
the implication here is, I mean, all food. So soup would be included in that, I guess, which is kind of amusing.
I love that soup always comes up in that discussion.
It's just, I think it's the obvious question, you know.
Yeah. It's the
What does
most.
he do once he gets to soup?
Yeah, it's the most egregious thing you could eat, probably. So did you want these ordered numerically or just sort of yes, no? Because we started doing yes, no.
I mostly want you to discuss when you disagree. So
Okay.
if you all think that they're yes bad, or if you think that like wearing a uniform is you know Jesse thinks it's a little bit bad, but who else is in this room? I can't see. Room 4. But oh yeah, Finland thinks it's like very bad. Then you think okay.
Okay.
I want you to figure out what the source of that is.
Okay. Sure.
Discuss why. I see.
Yeah.
Are
Are there any big disagreements so far?
Not so far. None that have been to any degree that's been worth talking about. I think we've been all in sync.
Yeah.
I imagine that's going to change eventually, though. As we move down the line here. We'll see, though.
Whoa, this next one's intense.
Okay. A woman was dying, and on her deathbed, she asked her son to promise that he would visit her grave every week. The son loved his mother very much, so he promised to visit her grave every week. But after the mother died, the son didn't keep his promise because he was very busy.
I think that one's tough. I personally, I put a lot of stock in promises, right? But it gets tricky because I think there's a lot of weight to this one, right? It's about a guy's mom has passed away, but at the same time, I feel like I hold another belief that feels contradictory now in this moment, but it's like people who have died. I mean, I think people's different, spiritual and religious beliefs will affect this, but they're not. You shouldn't give more precedence to people who aren't around.
Sorry.
But I don't think it's morally wrong. I think it's just emotionally rough, but not morally rough.
I'm not too sure because I think if we base off that, then I feel like a lot of other things would be like okay, you know.
That's why I said yes to the other things. I usually said no if I could think of a way that it would cause like bodily harm to the person who's doing it or something else. But if it's just kind of like, oh, that's gross, or maybe like culturally unfortunate, then I said yes.
Would you be mad if your dog ate your face if you died?
I wouldn't be anything.
It's true. True. But if you were to know while alive 100% that it would eat your face, would it make you upset?
I don't think it would.
Yeah, me neither.
Because I mean, if you have a cat, your cat will do that. If the cat finds your body before someone else, that's happening.
I mean, so it feels like we just have something to learn from them, and that we too should eat our dogs when they die. They're trying to teach us. They have such a wealth of information.
I guess it comes down to if something seems sort of emotionally like, does that have anything to do with the morality of it, or are those like separate? I kind of think they're separate.
Yeah, it feels like ickiness could be more incidental, whereas like some morality seems to be directly tied to like well-being or like fruitful existence, if that makes sense. But I don't know. I think you'd think that like we find certain things disgusting and thus morally reprehensible for some kind of like reason or like practical biological purpose.
Like the sibling one.
Yeah, that's probably one of the most like uniform taboos in most cultures, right? Even no understanding of genetics withstanding, it's just like this is an icky process that leads to very icky results.
But if they don't reproduce, then it's like, is it?
But it says
moral
passionately.
Thing, or is it just gross?
I feel like passionately really kind of condemns them to worse actions later on because I don't think it just stops.
Testing the waters or something, you know?
It's if it was like a brother and sister practice kissing, that's still gonna probably get half the class to say no, that's not okay, and the other half of the class will be like, well, if it's just them being like, you know, ignorant children just trying to get ready for something, that's fine. But this isn't for like any kind of practice. It just they enjoy it and they find a secret hiding place, which means they know it's not okay, and then they continue.
Maybe. Well, yeah, it's like in Game of Thrones. Jaime and Cersei thought they were right. They were just hiding so they didn't get like stoned to death.
Yeah, but even that is like a very specific case study if you were to take it as indicative, because like what other peers do they have? Oh, the peasants that they are taught that are subhuman, you know? So it's like no wonder they hitched up. They had a psychopathic upbringing. But yeah, it's a good point.
The moral psychology of Game of Thrones is probably not worth it.
Yeah, I don't know.
What else what you guys disagree with so far? I see one person with kissing, the promise one, 2 people.
I think we're confused as to whether or not yes means yes, this is bad, or yes means yes, this is okay as well.
I think each group has had a different understanding, so we're just gonna have to like we're gonna have to go back into the main room and discuss what that means.
The fact that the uniform thing is getting such mixed results really shows that we don't understand what yes or no means in this context. Because I think everyone would like to say that uniform means it's okay, right? Does anyone really think that's bad? Like, or ethically bad?
I've had people, like I've talked to people that do actually.
Just because they're mad?
Oh, sorry, my bad.
No, go for it.
Maybe the people who set the uniforms.
So, I've come from like backgrounds that are like third world developing countries, and for me, like students wearing uniforms is like a culture thing. Specifically in developing countries, they force kids to wear uniforms because the gap between poor and middle class to even rich is substantially large, and that's why they give out uniforms so the poor kids aren't like dressed up in rags and the rich kids are, you know, wearing normal clothes.
Gotcha.
But here in the US, they just do it because I guess they can. I don't know. I hate it here. So
I thought it was a security issue.
Well, yeah, a security thing too.
Yeah.
Hop back out.
And so I came from.
It's a dog eat dog world, you know. Morally, no, it's sustaining yourself. It's just another animal. We've just attached such a deeper connection to dogs and cats.
It's because we live in a society.
Yeah, it's also mainly because the dogs are more capable of like a little bit more higher intelligence than other animals, so it's easier to connect with them.
This is taking.
Although pigs are smarter than dogs.
Yeah.
No one cares about pigs. We want our bacon.
Like, I've never interacted with pigs.
They're
so
so
I can't
cute.
really say
I like
anything
them.
about that. This was wild. But I like how all of us had the consensus for kissing and candy.
I'm just watching the other groups
Yeah.
make their decisions and I'm judging them. Like, why would they think that?
Do you judge them more when they all agree or when there's mixed results? Or when
Um,
they disagree with your view?
right, when they disagree with me. Like, what is wrong with them?
I think for a couple of them, it makes sense for them to be like mixed or like to have different opinions than us. Like the
I
chick-
love passionately kissing my younger brother too.
that one. That one I can't stand behind. That one or the candy. That is too like it's hard to be like, yeah, maybe you can bend. I'm like, no, you can't bend morals in those two cases at all.
All right. So
Oh.
you all agreed that the kissing was bad and that the candy was bad. Yeah?
Yeah. Cool,
But
because
you
that's
didn't think that the chicken was bad.
well, actually, we decided that it's not unhealthy for him, and also it's better for him to be doing it to a chicken than a person. And like, as long as he doesn't feed it to anyone else, he's just weird.
Yeah, he's just an odd fellow.
Yeah. Maybe he's a necrophiliac or into bestiality, but that's his own thing.
And some of you disagreed with the grave and with the uniform, but not the same people, which is interesting.
What?
You disagreed on the grave case, the promise,
Oh,
and then
promise.
the swings and the uniform.
Oh.
Yeah,
Uh,
the uniform, Josephine said that like she went to a school that had uniforms, and I don't think anyone else. So it's like
so
more.
did I.
Oh,
So did I.
okay.
Yeah, so did I.
Oh.
That's I feel like that I feel like that can be problematic because why doesn't the kid want to follow the rules
Yeah,
that
like
everybody else has to follow?
yeah, like it's not fair that they think that they have to wear regular clothes while everyone else has to
Like
wear
they're above
uniform.
everybody else. And
Yeah, but the thing is that you can do exactly what they're doing. I wish I wore regular clothes instead of my uniform.
The thing
Imagine.
there's just a set of rules when you go to a school like that.
Where do you guys stand on laws? Do you think it's always immoral to break the law, or do you think that some laws?
No, it's not always immoral to break the law.
some laws can be easily broken.
Yeah, every single day I wake up and choose unlawfulness.
Chaotic.
A chaotic evil. It's fine.
Because for me, like I think about these as like, would I tell my kid that that's like wrong?
Yeah.
And like
But
if
that's
they
what I'm
didn't,
saying. The chicken one goes back and forth.
yeah.
Like you don't want your kid doing that.
Also, men are weird, you know.
I hate that. I hate that that's your justification.
That's not a good justification. For the swings one, it seems like I was the only one who said that's not a problem. I don't think it's a problem if that she did that. I think that a lot of kids don't know how to communicate well with other kids, so they react the first way they might react, which is usually going to be violence. I just think it just takes like someone telling the kid, hey, don't do that, in order for them to learn to not do it again.
But the fact that you think that you have to tell them, hey, don't do that, is because you think there's a problem there.
Well, it's also like telling a kid of like, oh, like when they see a stove, they're gonna touch it because they're curious and they don't know better. When they touch it, they're like, ooh, that's hot. You tell the kid, don't do it again because you're
Okay,
gonna
but
get
you don't
burned.
think they probably learned the pushing from somewhere though? Like they learned the pushing first and then you have to teach them the communication later. Like they're not just born with that.
Well, it's
I
not
learned
just
it from watching you, Dad.
well, it could also just be from social media or TV as well.
But I still think it's bad. I think you think it's also bad.
I think it's bad. I don't think it's necessarily a problem or morally bad.
You better
Listen.
hope I don't see you on the street or else
I'm gonna see what Group 4 is doing right now.
Automatically, anyways.
Well, it's more of a framing issue. I mean, if you frame moral issues as discrete things that are detectable and exist, then it makes it easier to articulate why they're a problem. And then you put not stepping on people's toes morally higher than making sure everyone's blocked in your particular mode of walking. Welcome back, Carlos.
How's it going?
we have more or less, I believe, let me flip back over here. We've more or less gone through the
It looks like we're just waiting for group 4.
Yeah. Yeah.
But you guys came to mostly agreement except for the uniform and the promise and the candy case, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is it the same person that's disagreeing each time? No. Interesting. So who feels strongly that they're on their disagreement with the rest of the group about one of them?
I have my particular opinions, but they are just opinions.
Okay.
I think your 12-year-old Candy's one was the only one where we only had one person, besides the question marks, disagree with the rest of us.
Yeah, the candy one is very particular because the kid is 12. So even if you set aside the overconsumption that's going on that we as a species should probably curb, at the end of the day, this means there's a 12-year-old kid who presumably has someone looking out for him who is okay with something that can eventually become a problem manifesting in its nascent state. It would be very similar to noticing other warning signs in a kid, like being super into torturing animals and not curbing that now. It's not a problem with the child's behavior. It's a problem that nobody else is doing something to course correct. Because the child isn't a functional moral agent because they don't have a fully developed bit of think putting in their head yet. Like they don't have all of the required structures to make fully informed decisions about what's going on.
And I'll disagree kind of on the sense also because they are a 12-year-old. Like it makes like the act itself not like I wouldn't want to like phrase this to the child as if it's a punishment because it's done something wrong versus it's doing something that is a negative behavior that leads to negative health, repercussions. So like that being the fact that like it's not a moral problem that he's doing it then, it's a moral problem, I guess, if you continue it, depending on, how you feel about autonomous choices. But
let's frame it in a slightly riskier format. Let's say the 12-year-old boy is instead a 12-year-old girl who's developed one hell of a teacher's crush and won't let it alone. And like consistently has a thing for men that are illegally too old for her. You have to curb things like that because even though she's not doing anything wrong, there is a very clear and obvious risk that if you are a moral agent, like you would want to steer someone away from that direction.
I feel like if you kind of don't really have that sense, then it's because, you are a child, you don't have that like strong sense of self, then you don't want to see it as like this bad thing that they like have to avoid talking about like their attraction for older men because they fear the repercussions of it, so they internalize it. Whereas if you didn't make it as like negative of a thing, you can talk to them and then
yeah, but the moral judgment isn't being made as far as in an absentia tut-tutting. It's should we as moral agents get involved with handling that particular situation?
All right, I'm gonna hop out session. Hey, Brett. Hey, Jeff. Free.
Hey.
Looks like the rooms are going to be closing in 30 seconds, 35 seconds. I am fascinated by the differences between groups and within groups, I'm actually not that, like, it's interesting that people more or less come to consensus, but that's what I would have expected. But I'm fascinated at the differences between groups.
Kind of reminds me of the environment aspect.
I was deeply amused by everyone else doing the reverse of what we were going with our schema with the notating things, and I'm like, no, I'm not changing it.
So let's in fact maybe we should just clarify what each group meant by N and Y. let's say group one. What did Y mean?
Group one, we said yes was morally okay and no was morally not okay.
Okay. So group two, what did you mean by Y? Yes was
bad and no
Okay.
was good.
Okay, so it's flipping. Okay.
Yep.
Okay. Group three, what did you mean by that?
Yes, moral problems exist that we should do something about. No, no harm, no foul.
Okay, 2-1. Okay. And then group four?
Yes for okay, and then N for not okay or wrong.
Okay. All right. So is it group one that has the difference? Is that what I remember?
1 and 4 are the same.
Okay.
And 2 and
Oh, that's
3
interesting. So then out of the first prompt, the swings prompt, only one person. Okay. I remember that discussion in that group. So I'm not gonna put you guys back on the spot. Let's go back. Let's go to the uniforms cases. There were a couple of people that thought that was not a problem, and a couple of people that thought that it was a problem. What was the disagreement there?
Group by group?
Let's just somebody that had a strong feeling about wearing a uniform being, if you don't wear a uniform, that's bad.
There is no functional argument towards forcing kids to wear uniforms. Every argument is not for the child's best interests, but for interests of either children who are not that child or alternatively the faculty in general. There's a difference between don't show up in a Chippendales outfit and wear this monkey suit. It's not a binary. You can give people the ability to express themselves how they please while preventing them from doing whatever it is you're trying to prevent with uniforms.
Our group disagreed with that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead, Alyssa.
I forget who it was, but someone in our group, and maybe they should elaborate on this more, but there is a utility to kids wearing uniforms because it prevents, to an extent, or in theory, bullying, because everyone's in the same thing. So you can't bully someone for wearing something weird because they're not. Because uniforms.
So, yeah, I have to disagree with Joseph. And as Alyssa was talking about, it's mostly due to culture in other countries. Like, again, developing countries usually force kids to wear uniforms because there's a huge proportionate gap in between the poor kids to even middle class, to even like the rich kids. And of course, the middle class to rich kids can afford their children actual clothes, whereas the poor usually have to wear the same stuff or even rags, and that's why they have uniforms. That way there's no bullying, there's no judging each other based off oh, your family's rich or poor. It's everyone's equal, except that here in the States we kind of just force kids to wear clothes because for security reasons, I guess. But I feel, which is the only point that I agree with Joseph, is that I think kids should be allowed to be freely able to express themselves. They should be able to wear what they want. I don't think, or at least I hope not, and stuff, that poverty is as big of an issue as it is in developing countries.
If I might respond, I mean, if someone else wants to throw in, then I can mute. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. Jumped in a little late there, but our group took a social contract position on this. So I'm realizing now that we labeled this wrong. There's some confusion, but we said it's wrong on principle because it's a violation of the social contract. In other words, you agreed that you're going to wear a uniform. You're going to that school, and it's presumably it's part of the code, and so that that's expected of you. And so unless it's really, really egregious or something, which it's obviously not, then you should go along with it. You should do it. And not wearing the uniform and rejecting the rule and violating the social contract just because you don't feel like going along with it, that's kind of a crappy thing to do.
Awesome.
If I might respond,
Yeah, go
unless
ahead.
I don't want to overwhelm the conversation.
Yeah, I got something. I think for me personally, like it's a picking and choosing of like which social contracts are actually valuable. So I think in this instance, it might be a good example of like how a rule can be kind of arbitrary and how like understanding what happens when you break it can like give you a deeper appreciation of it. So like if you always told your kid that they could never wear their own clothes and they never got to experience like breaking that rule, then they would probably just resent the rule. But maybe the experience of like breaking a rule and seeing the repercussions means that they will just choose to not break the rule because they don't want to face those repercussions.
Well, the one response I would have is that there's this buy-in that the individuals controlling what the uniform is, what the institution of the education is, how all that is going on are at their face trustworthy. I'm actually all for preventing the bullying aspect with the uniforms, but the problem is, at least how it manifests in the States from where I've seen it, the parents wind up having to buy. So now you're putting an undue charge. Again, there's all sorts of complicated things there. And I'm actually conceding the point on the bullying thing because I don't have an answer to that one. But I think that let's force all the kids to wear the same thing and, teach them how to conform to what the school is telling them to do is not the most functional way to resolve that. Or at least if it is going to be the way that you're going to resolve that, you're going to need to find some form of flex within the system because, like, if part of the world that we're supposed to be raising children to go into is meant for them to function as adults, they need to be able to choose how to clothe themselves in a functional format, and forcing them all to wear the same uniform, I don't think that's effective. But that's how morality works. Don't want to overwhelm the convo. I'm gonna mute now.
I don't see it. I don't see it as a moral issue. If it's like you said in the developing countries, I mean those are all practical considerations, and I don't see how it's right or wrong in either way. It's just the people that run the institutions desire a certain thing, and it's not, it's just like your school colors. Are your school colors right or wrong? I mean, just a thing that the people running the institutions, if you're, I mean, that's why I changed. I was really a yes, and then I changed it to a not a problem.
I have a good way. I have a good way of sort of tying a bow on the idea. I think the amount of force you need to do when someone is like, I don't want to wear this, I'm going to roll up my sleeves or unbutton my shirt or whatever. Every time you try to correct that child who wants to step out of line like that, I've never seen that done in a way that, to me, comes out in the morality wash, right? I don't see how giving a child detention because they didn't want to wear a blazer is helping that specific child. I think, if anything, it's actually doing a disservice to them.
Let's hop ahead to another question. The one that had the most disagreement, aside from that one, is the candy case, and it was kind of interesting. There was all of Group 2 thought that it was problematic. Most of Group 1, but then not most of Groups 3 and 4, which is interesting. Can maybe a representative of Group 1 or 2 say why they thought that it was wrong, and then we'll get a representative of either 3 or 4?
I think for one, we mostly said it was wrong because even if it doesn't feel bad, it's still not good for you. Like, you can take 12 shots when you're 18 and not feel bad, but your liver is still not doing well. So there is harm, and because there's harm, we said it was morally problematic.
Okay. And who thought, let's see, most of group 3 and most of group 4 thought it wasn't problematic.
I didn't want to put like a right or wrong on someone who's bulimic.
Fair enough.
You know, I mean, that's a disease, right?
Fair enough. Yeah.
And that's my whole reasoning.
Okay. That's cool. So it's the disease model of addiction rather than like some personal failing model.
Well, 100%. Yeah. It's...
Cool. Yeah. I like it. I think it's more pro-social in a lot of ways. Okay. Here's a general question for all of you. Were there any views that you had difficulty justifying?
Well, the promise one, because that's, I have a metaphysical bent to where, if you break a promise, even if the person's dead, it's going to come back and get you. But that's a metaphysics thing with myself. And lots of times I don't like to bring that up in these types of classes, but I went for it. I mean, karmically, if you break any promise, it's going to get you. It's better just man up and tell her, Mom, I'm a stockbroker. I'm not going to come by the.
A lot of times I ran into like this deterministic screen where my gut said clearly this, and then thinking about it applying it universally, I'm like, that wouldn't wash. And that's where a lot of the disagreements came from, because the whole, like the promise one was one that was good. There's not enough information there to be able to make a judgment that would, because if it's happening and you want it to be different, you got to do something to make it different. I don't know if the old woman was a bastard. I don't know if she was Mother Teresa. I don't know if the inheritance is attached to the promise. I don't know if the promise was extracted under means that would be kosher to me. Similarly, that is something that exists exclusively between them. So the only person who'd have all the information necessary to make the moral judgment is the one who's deciding not to go to the grave.
That's my favorite. Yeah. Okay, that's fair. Yeah. I mean, all of these are going to be underdescribed. My favorite thought on this one is like, okay, somebody says, well, what if I move to Seattle and I don't want to fly back every week to keep the promise? And the response that you could just disinter your mother's body and take her corpse with you to Seattle doesn't pass anybody's mind, because it's not about like the simple act of like saying words next to the person's like there's something going on there that's about respect for the dead. That's like, I don't know. It's interesting. It's in the back of our minds.
Why my will's going to consist of keep the power pumping to the freezer the head's going to be in. I'll wait for the future to figure the problems out.
Okay. How many of you had seen these prompts before?
Couple.
Okay. Yeah,
the flag one.
These are pretty famous. The flag one. Ugh, I love. Wait, what did you guys say about the flag one, actually? One person thought, no, an entire group, and then one person thought that it was bad. Okay.
We had a lot of unanimity across the groups.
Yeah, it turns out that one of the discoveries of this research is that people that are in your socioeconomic status, that is college, Western educated, rich people, you tend to be a lot more permissive than a lot of people in different either cultures, communities, or socioeconomic groups. And so like if I ask you all about the chicken prompt, I get results like 4 of you think it's bad, the rest of you think it's fine. If I go to McDonald's and I'm like chatting with somebody I'm like, hey, do you think it'd be bad if I bought a chicken and had my way with it later?
Look, if you want to have your way, with dinner, that is entirely your business, so long as you don't try to serve it to somebody else. The same with the hand dude. Nasty, you are absolutely going to become Typhoid Mary one day, but you're not handling other people's food. So I really can't get involved.
But a lot of people that aren't in classes like this would find that problematic and wouldn't, like, asking them to justify it, like they would find that just like crazy. Why do you need to justify something like this? It's gross. It's just gross.
Well, gross. The sensation
But
of gross
gross
is
is
like one of the
yeah,
foremost
that's the
of
justification because I don't think gross is necessarily a moral standpoint. Just because I think something's gross doesn't mean, where it's different with the incest because down the road, we brought up the harm, as like Alyssa brought up with the bulimia thing. There's harm, potential harm. So that's gross plus harm. I don't know.
But it's mitigatable harm.
Right.
Like if they just use basic birth control, nobody's getting hurt.
What if they're very like elderly siblings, postmenopausal?
Doesn't matter. The bald primates want to do something over there that I don't personally want to see. That is absolutely fine. Because we moved from eating each other's brains in some cave in France to talking to each other through glass. I am okay with, as long as we're not hurting nobody, who cares?
So the big point here is that this is a model that is based on a lot of research, and the research is stuff like this, where it turns out that people in different cultures come to these situations in different ways than we do. Right? A lot of people in this socioeconomic group will see these. You'll get the immediate response, but then you'll tamp that down. You'll be like, oh well, I guess it's fine if that's what you want to do to your dead pet. That's fine. And the idea is that what's happening is you've got your moral sense activated first. You come to a judgment, but a lot of people that are not in in groups that like pride themselves on abstract reasoning, then those people will tend to stick with their judgment more quickly and more persistently. And so the discoveries in this research have made the point that when we think about morality, what actually is going on is not what happens in most of our minds, or at least we don't. A lot of us are okay with like adjusting our initial impressions, but the vast majority of humans are not. They'll stick with their initial impressions of like, oh, that's gross, and then won't even worry about if they can or cannot justify it. And part of that is because, according to moral psychology, morality is about group membership. It's about linking us together, and it's not just about harm and fairness. It's about coming together to pursue particular ends. There's more stuff that I could say, but I think I'm just gonna, actually, no, I'll say this. The metaphor here is a Buddhist metaphor. It's an elephant rider. The idea being the elephant is doing most of the work. The elephant here is your intuitions, your emotions, your body, the default judgments that you make. But you're riding it. You are able to maneuver it in some ways. And so, like, sometimes the elephant is going in a direction and you'll just follow along with it thinking that you pushed it that way. But in fact, it's the elephant that made the choice. It's your body that pushed you in that direction. Maybe a lot of morality behaves that way. And so you might think that the way to address this is actually to recognize the situation and realize that sometimes when we have moral discussions, the reasoning isn't relevant. You can't reason somebody out of a view that they didn't reason themselves into in the first place. Anyway, it looks like most of you, has everybody here signed up? Most of you signed up for the 30th.
I think my permission or access to edit it got denied because I'm like signed into my Google account and everyone else is
Oh.
anonymous. But yeah, you can sign me up for any of the slots that are left, and I'm okay with it.
Okay. Maybe
Well, stuff on the
120 next
23rd.
week.
Yeah, sounds awesome.
All right. Okay. Anybody else need to sign up yet so far? Cool. Any comments, questions, concerns? Did you guys notice anything fun from having these discussions? Was it troubling to anybody?
It was fun.
It was a lot of fun.
I enjoyed it.
Nice.
It's always nice to like not have the answer carved out in one gory lump, like this is the one truth, and you're sitting there like, huh, the world is chaos and we don't know what we're doing anymore.
Awesome. Okay. So then I guess next week it's just the 5 of you plus all of the people that haven't been showing up who are just going to get slotted in here. So you'll get to see how they do it, how we do it. Okay.
Right.
And then we'll have one wrap-up session at the end of everything on December 7th, I think.
So you're saying if we show up on the first date, we'll see all the fellow classmates we've never known?
Yeah. Yeah, you get to meet new people. It'll be fun. It would be like oh my God, Provost Harmon, what are you doing here? or I don't know. It'll be great. Yeah. Okay. Have a great week. I'll chat with you all later.
Hey, Carlos.
Sir.
Thanks,
Uh,
Carlos.
Bye.
Can I run my thesis by you just to see if it's okay? Cool.
Sounds great. Let me just pause the. Oh, there's people in the chat that said something. What did they say? Cutting teeth. Cool. More controversial topics. I love
I
it.
also want to hear your thesis.
Okay.
I
All
wanna
right.
hear-
Sweet.
Let
I
me,
would appreciate feedback
This is a
too.
super secret squirrel, but otherwise I'm staying right the fuck here.
All right.
All
I'm
right.
gonna pause.